Thomas and Friends, making tracks to great destinations.
This is a story about Bulstrode the Barge. He was a very disagreeable barge who was always causing trouble. Then one day, he went too far.
One morning, Percy was shunting freight cars in the yard. The cars were being very naughty and refused to move. Come on, puffed Percy as he pushed them into place. Oh, screamed the cars as they bumped into each other. Just as Percy was about to give them one last big push, Sir Topham Hatt arrived.
Leave those freight cars, please, Percy,
said Sir Topham Hatt.
There's an emergency at the harbor.
Yes, sir,
replied Percy happily. He was pleased that he could leave the naughty freight cars behind. Come on, Percy, said his driver. This'll be trouble with Bulstrode. Percy had never met Bulstrode and wondered what kind of engine he would be. As they puffed along the line, Percy's driver told him all about Bulstrode. Bulstrode isn't an engine. He's a very disagreeable barge, his driver explained. He never stops complaining and always expects everyone to do what he wants. Percy hadn't met a barge before, but he wasn't looking forward to meeting Bulstrode. Percy's driver was right about Bulstrode. Today the barge was more bad-tempered than ever. At the harbor, he was shouting at the freight cars.
Come on! Why aren't you cars where you should be?
Complained Bulstrode.
There's no engine, and we can't move without one,
replied the cars.
You're in the wrong place, not us.
Bulstrode and the cars had been arguing all morning. The cars had some coal for Bulstrode to deliver, but they were too far away from the water to load him up. Bulstrode was being very impatient. He didn't want to wait for an engine to arrive. When Percy arrived, Bulstrode was sulking and the cars were even more angry than before.
Bulstrode is being difficult,
complained the cars.
Please put us on a sign, Percy, so that we can load him up and be rid of him.
Rid of me? Replied Bulstrode. I would have left hours ago if you cars were in the right place.
Percy wasn't happy that he had to shunt freight cars again, but he was unhappier still about the way Bulstrode spoke to him.
Bah! Look at the size of you,
laughed Bulstrode.
I'd be surprised if you had the strength to move even one car.
Percy didn't like Bulstrode. He wanted to get the job done quickly as possible. Percy began to move the cars, but the cars were being careless. As Percy lined them up, they burst through some buffers. The cars screamed and laughed as they hurtled towards the edge of the dock. But it was too late. Bulstrode could see them coming towards him. And before anyone had time to stop them, the cars went over the edge of the dock.
Oof!
Cried Bulstrode as the cars landed on him.
I'm sinking!
Serves you right,
giggled the cars.
You were always barging in the morning,
replied Bulstrode. His mouth was full of coal. Giggled the cars.
You're even clever to say now.
Percy smiled. He thought Bulstrode had got what he deserved. The harbor was a terrible mess. There was coal everywhere, and half the cars were on Bulstrode instead of the track. It took a very long time to clear the mess. The cars had to be lifted out of Bulstrode one by one. The cars giggled and teased Bulstrode, but Bulstrode was surprisingly quiet. Percy watched as Bulstrode was towed away to the beach. He had caused trouble one too many times. Right, said the workmen when they reached the beach. You can stay here from now on. Children can play in you all day, and at long last you'll be useful.
You can't leave me here,
shouted Bulstrode, but the workmen ignored him and walked away. As Percy puffed along the line on Sir Topham Hatt's railway, he passed Bulstrode on the beach. Bulstrode was already shouting at the seagulls that had perched on top of him. Percy hurried past before Bulstrode had the chance to shout at him.
I'm so pleased I won't have to work with Bulstrode again,
thought Percy when he was safely out of the way.
The foolish freight cars are naughty, but Bulstrode is even worse.